Hi friends, this is Anna with Scrapping, Stamping, and Stuff. I'm excited to be here today because as I'm recording this on August 4th, today is the kickoff of our holiday catalog ordering for customers. Demonstrators have been able to order for the last month, so I have lots of fun things in my collection already. But for all you customers out there, today is the day you can begin ordering from this beautiful catalog. There are so many amazing things in here. I'll tell you what, I have had probably a harder time deciding what to cut from my ordering list than I ever have before with this catalog. There are so many neat things in here. So you will have to keep tuned in to what I have to share over the next few days and weeks and months because I'm going to have lots of really cool things. And we are going to kick this off today with this really neat fun fold card made with our Fireside Trimmings bundle. So I'll show you how this opens. We have a little flap here at the bottom that's going to flip open. And then we have this beautiful scene with the fireplace and the wreath and the little greeting. And then we open it up and this is where you can actually put your greeting and sign your name and all of that. So let's get started. I have done a lot of the prep work on this card already, but we'll get started. I'll show you how to assemble it, and then I'll show you all the fun little decorations. The best part about this is all of these fun little ornate details. So here's what we need. We need our crumb cake card base that measures 5.5 by 8.5, then fold that in half. We need a piece of red cardstock that measures 4 by 5.25. This is a piece of Poinsettia Place designer paper. It measures 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. On that, we have to create our wood floor. So we're going to lay this on top. That measures 1.5 by 3 7/8. That is from that same paper pack. We need a piece 4 by 5.25 white for the center of the card, and then our little flap for the front. This measures 1 by 4 1/4 inch. And I have scored it over here 1/2 inch from this edge. And then one more piece of that wood grain print from the Poinsettia Place paper pack. This measures 1 inch by 3 3/4 inches. So let's assemble this card, get it all put together, and then we will put all of these fun little details on. And I'll show you a couple of tricks for putting little detailed stuff like this on. So your card base, this is going to be a little different than normal, okay? Normally you're going to open your card this direction, okay? Same card base as normal, but I want you to lay it so that it is actually opening this direction. Then, where we had that score, this small strip, we are going to fold that. We need to put a little bit of adhesive. I would use something strong like our Seal Plus on there. We're going to fold that over like this. I want to hook it over the front flap only. And I want this to be maybe 1/2 inch or so from the bottom of the card. So I am going to fold that nice and tight, hooked over the back, press it down so that this all lays flat. And now this will open to the left and the card will open to the right. While we have this open, I'll go ahead and put the piece of white on the inside. The greeting on the front that I use says "Sending Christmas Cheer," and then this says "With all our love." So I just kept the center of this really nice and simple since we have so much detail on the front of the card. So now right here on the front of this, we're going to put this red cardstock. It's a nice matte. I love when you can create really neat scene cards, and this set is perfect for that. It has so many fun little things included. Towards the end, maybe I'll bring that back in and show you all of the things. You can use the set for Christmas, obviously, like we are here, but it also has things included for fall. So I can show you some of that as well. Okay, so we have that designer print on. Now we're going to take this wider wood grain piece and place it across the very bottom. I want to cover up the bottom of this green pine print. So this will be our little wood floor. Now if I flip this over, I want to cover this piece with this other wood grain print. And this is one of those prints, sometimes it's hard to choose which side of our designer paper you're going to use. I love this berry print on the back. But for this project today, we are covering it up. Okay, so we'll lay that right there. Now we have this whole base created for this card. You could create, you could do a lot of different scenes like this, but this is the way I've set it up for this scene inside the house. Now, let me bring in all my fun little pieces and parts that I have prepared, and we'll talk about them for a minute. So here we have the fireplace. I will finish coloring this in just a minute with my blends markers and show you just briefly how I did that. We have our little holly garland to go across the fireplace. We have lanterns to sit on top. We have the wreath to go up above. Here is our greeting. We have a few presents to go under the tree. I will talk about these some more. And I stamped and die cut the wood for the fireplace. Here is the little rack you put your wood on, and a couple of flames I cut out using the die set from our new rainbow glimmer paper. So I was able to get some of the yellows and oranges and pinks in there. So I thought that was a lot of fun. Okay. Now let's talk about these trees quickly. These I made using our In the Pines set, which is going to be another favorite this year. Love these pine trees. You'll be able to use these for a lot of projects, not just Christmas and not just winter. We can use these throughout the year for different things. So I die cut this tree right here out of garden green. I also stamped it with this stamp right here with garden green ink. And then I die cut that same tree out of old olive, and I use this die right here with it to cut out all the little detail. I love this set. There's so many different ways to use it. This is a tree that has some detail. This one has the detail. You can layer these and get really neat shading and realistic effects with those. So the reason this one looks a little funny, I put our adhesive sheets on the back of this before I die cut it out, which basically turns it into a big sticker. And some of the adhesive sheet part did not cut all the way through. So that's why it looks like it does right now. But we'll do this first. We'll go ahead and add this piece on top of this tree. Please excuse all of my pieces here. We have a lot going on. So I love these adhesive sheets. I have to get in the habit of using them because they're new, and I am not in the habit of adding them to the back before I do my die cutting, but I must get in the habit because it makes it so much easier. See, look, all I have to do, I peeled that paper backing off. Now I just have to lay it on top, stick it down, and it is all secure there. We don't have to do anything else. I am going to trim a little piece off the bottom here. I didn't want the trunk to be quite as long as it was with the die cut. So now we have our tree prepared to go right in this area. Let's finish coloring the fireplace. I use smoky slate blends markers in the center, and for the rest of these I'm using bronze and both crumb cake markers. So I'll show you how I did the majority of this. You can see where I have lighter and darker colors. For most of these panels, I colored the entire panel in with my light crumb cake. Just go over that, get the whole thing covered. in color. And then for this, I wanted that center panel to be the darkest because it's recessed, I believe. So I went around the center panel, the very outside, with my bronze marker. I wanted that little detail trim in the very center. I wanted it to be the lightest, so I'm not adding any more shading to it. But here is my dark crumb cake. I'm going to come around. I am covering the bronze that I just covered. And okay, so I'm not going to do the very center of that, but I'm going to come back with my light crumb cake and go over all of it again. I'm going to do some circular motions here to get that blended all together. And then we just have to wait. It takes a little bit for this to dry and do its thing and all come out the way we want it to. So now we'll just let that dry. So this outside panel, I have the light crumb cake. I'm going to go around the very inside of it with a very thin strip of the dark crumb cake. Then I'll go back over all of this again with the light, and this will help it all blend together. So this is basically the process I used for this whole thing. I looked at it, decided, where do I want my lights? Where do I want my darks? And then that's what I usually do is I color the whole thing with the light. I go back and I color the dark where I want it. And then I use the medium color and the light color to blend the darks and the lights together. And it is appearing to me that I never colored this very bottom strip. I thought I was done with that. So we will do that. We'll color the whole thing with the light. Maybe it has that very light color on there. I can't tell, but I'm going to add some of the medium. So I'll just add a little bit of the medium. And that was the bullet point. For whatever reason, I just really like to use the marker, the brush point. So we'll add that darker crumb cake all along there. Now go back and color with the light again to get it all blended together. Okay. I'll tell you real quick what colors I use to color some of these other little items. I used the same browns to color the firewood. I used old olives and cherry cobblers on the wreath. I used smoky slates and daffodil delights on the lanterns. So let's get started. We are going to start putting all of this in place. Now, we're going to use a collection of adhesives in different ways to add all of this on. You, of course, can use those that are your preference. One of the nice things about using the glue is that it does slide around a little bit. In case you don't get it exactly where you want it, you can move it a little. So we'll add the fireplace on here. Now I'm going to show you a couple of tricks. A couple of these I forgot to use my adhesive sheets, as I just showed you on the tree how handy those are. So I'll show you trick number 2 for putting some of these detailed die cuts onto your projects. Trick number 2, which if you follow along, you've seen this before, is to use your silicone craft sheet, a sponge, and you want to just get a little bit of that glue on a sponge, and we're going to go down all along here. This sponge has been used before, so it is very sticky because it has some of this dry glue on it, but just get a little bit of that glue on the back of there and lay it where we want it, stick it down. You only need a tiny bit of this multi-purpose glue on there to stay in place. So now I am ready. We will go ahead and put dimensionals on the backs of the lanterns and the wreath and the tag. We'll get them put up here at the top. I'll talk about this tag real quick. I made this with our new Banners Pick-a-Punch. This is like our lovely Labels Pick-a-Punch that came in our new annual catalog this year, where you can cut 3 different widths. You can do 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, or 1 inch tags, and you can do both of these ends on this. So there's 6 different ways to use this punch, and I love that. It's perfect for creating a lot of different tags. So grab some dimensionals here. I am down to the outside of this dimensional sheet, so I'll show you how I cut those apart and then use them. Use up those last pieces around the edge. I will be curious to hear what your favorites are in this annual catalog. Like I said, I really had a hard time picking out my favorites and debating what I want to put on first here. I'll do the lanterns. As the orders start to come in, I'm sure I will be able to tell what those favorites are. I have really fun projects planned for this week, so I hope you will stick around and come back and watch them. I have a little bit more elaborate projects than normal. I wanted to show you the potential some of these projects have with some really fun and neat things. Put Sending Christmas Cheer up here. I had made a card a few years back with a different Stampin' Up set that I'd made a video for on YouTube, and it was a lot like this, and that is my #1 viewed video of all time. So I don't know that this one will be this popular, but we will see. Let's go ahead and do the little fire scene. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the backs of these, and we'll flip those over. As you can see, I've done a lot of the prep work for this already. It was fun to make these, though. I like to make these little pieces and do the coloring. And the best part, of course, is seeing the results once it all starts to come together like this. So here is the rack that goes in the fireplace to hold the wood. Put the glue on with the sponge for it. And the wood, I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of it as well. Or one long skinny one should work for that. Get that put in here. Okay, so I think everything back there is done. Now let's talk about these presents. I cut these from that same paper pack, except for these red ones. These are from the 'Tis the Season paper pack. And this one is about 3/4 of an inch on each side. This one is a little bit larger than that. Some of these are about, I think this one was about 1 inch. So I have some squares and rectangles, cut those out. And then to add the bows, I wanted them to look like presents, but I didn't have a stamp that looked like this. So I added some bows. This one, I just made a little knot in the end of a ribbon and attached that knot on. These are some of our new holiday ribbons this year. This one and this one I actually wrapped around, and then I had my little helper stick her finger on there while I tied that little tiny bow, and that worked out. If you want to be able to tie the little bows like this and you're not quite sure how, you'll have to look up my video on 10 tips for how to tie a perfect bow. There's a trick in there for how you tie a bow with a fork, and it would be absolutely perfect for tying these little tiny ones. So take a look at that. Now these, I'll go ahead and put a little bit of glue on just in the centers, and that way I can slide these around a little bit as I add them on. So I want to keep these on the flap. this little front flap that opens out. I like the idea of them hanging over just a touch, but not a lot. But this one, I didn't put a bow on this one. Of course, you could add more presents, more bows, more fun to all of this if you want to. So I'll put those there real quick. I'm going to slide this tree up and make sure that once I add that, I like the way it all looks. Okay, now keep in mind, we're going to add some strong adhesive down here at the base of the tree. So you have to put your tree down low enough that you can attach it to this flap. So I am going to use a little bit of tear and tape. I don't have very much width there to attach this together. So I'm going to use a little bit of this tear and tape adhesive because it's narrow and it's really strong. Pull that paper backing off, and now I can attach that right down here at the base. Now I'm going to attach these other two presents. So I think I'll put the red one about there, then I can attach this one on top. So I'll glue this one down, and then I think I'll pop that one up with a dimensional. Here you can see the back where I tied that gold ribbon all the way around. It had been a little loose. It wasn't as tight as I wanted it to be. So I used some Scotch tape to tape it up and hold it a little tighter. And actually, I should mention this, the way I tied that gold bow, I wrapped it. So on my first one, I tied it actually around the bow and my daughter held it for me. This one, I actually tied it around this bone folder right here. And then I slid it off the top. I slid it right onto that present. And like I said, it was a little loose, and that's why I used that tape on the back to hold it in place. So there's another little trick that may help you with tying some of these little tiny bows if this is something you want to venture into. Now, if this is not your thing, if you like the idea of this, but that it's like way too detailed for your taste, keep in mind that we do have some stamp sets that make these easy. Little bows with presents with bows that you can either punch out with a die, or we do have a little bow punch this year. So keep that in mind. There are easier ways to do this if you want to try them. Of course, if you like this card and this is too much detail, you can scale it back a little. You don't have to add all of the detail. You don't have to add the lanterns or all the bows with the presents. You could definitely scale this back if you want some, or you could get rid of this flap right here and just do it all on the front card panel. Okay, now we need some embellishments for our Christmas tree. We have to trim the tree here. So here is our all the trimmings embellishment set. I'm going to use one of the stars from it on the top of the tree. And then I thought about using these, but I really love these wonderful gems that are faceted, and they're actually glittery as well. So I decided to use some of these for the ornaments. They do come in, we have two sizes and the two colors, the red and the clear. So you can mix up the sizes and the shapes and the colors. Maybe not the shapes, they are all round. So we'll put a smaller red one there. When I was arranging these the first time, I pushed them off of my scissors and just sort of let them sit on the tree without pushing them down. And that allowed me to move them around until I was happy with the arrangement with where they were. So that's a good idea if you're not exactly sure where you want to put your embellishments. You can just sort of lay them on top for a minute until you can move them around, get them where you want, and then push them down. I really like these clear ones, have some gold glimmer in them. They're really pretty. Don't know if you can see that here. So one more embellishment, and I believe we're done here. So here's the one we just finished, right? I believe. Open up the flap, sending Christmas cheer with the pretty fireplace. and with all our love. So just a really neat fun fold card. Let me bring this set back in and just point out to you a few of the things that come in it that we didn't use today. So some things to sit on the mantle, which you can see some of these in our catalog, some of the samples. The cute little Christmas tree decoration. Here is some type of vase, we'll say. You could probably turn that into different things. A little clock, which is cute. Here is a branch that you could use with this, or possibly even these, I'm not sure. These could probably be vases or candlesticks, I'm thinking. So we have the branches. On the branches, you could use them by themselves, or you can use them with the pine cones or the leaves. So there you're getting a little bit of your fall decoration mixed in. So we have the candles, pumpkins down here, the reindeer looking up. Now this die set has all sorts of things in here. So we have the holly garland that we used. There is also a star garland, a bat garland, bats for Halloween. Here is a little pennant or flag one you could use for anything. There's dies for the branches and the pine cones and the leaves and the pumpkins and the candles and the vase and that. Basically, I think there are dies for everything here in this set. You also have a really nice little label that you can use to cut out the greeting, and you can put it up above the mantle if you want, or anywhere else on here. And I think that is most of it. There's a few other little things, little square. You can use this with the greeting. Just a lot of really neat pieces that you can use in a lot of ways. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, I have some really neat projects this week to share, kind of like this one. We have some fun techniques coming up. I've got a really pretty fall card, so we're going to do some more Christmas, but a lot of things to share. So I hope you'll come back, visit my blog, Scrapping, Stamping, and Stuff, for more information and for links to order your products. And I hope to see you again next time. Have a great day.